Alan White Show.
Hi, everybody. It's Alan White here in Atlanta, Georgia, with episode number 2, season number 1 of my new podcast, which is basically about my book, The Third Party, and why we need a third political party, and beyond that, how we might build it and win. Each of the podcasts that I do is going to have a separate subject. The first one was about the war in Iran. This podcast is about music and the business of music, and I've got 2 great guests that know all about that. And other podcasts will be about different things. We're looking into doing one about the environment. I've got a couple of people that I think actually know what they're talking about with the environment, so we'll be working on that one. Now, briefly, we'll talk about the book. Most people that are not Democrats or Republicans, that are independents, understand that we need a third party. The Congress is broken. They've been screaming at each other since Vietnam, and nothing really gets done. We just went 72 days, I think, where we couldn't even pay the TSA workers. That's ridiculous, but that's what happened. Now, the third party idea has been around for a long time, but it was impossible to get it done because the 2 existing parties put up so many roadblocks to block it. The internet solves those problems. Back in the day, you had to go to like a shopping mall and get thousands of signatures just to get somebody on the ballot. But these days, an internet signature is a legal signature everywhere in every state in the United States. So that solves that problem. And also, if you want to talk about a third party, literally beyond your living room, you would have to go rent a Knights of Columbus Hall or something. Now we have Facebook and a million other chat programs so that you can literally discuss the idea of a third party from your living room chair. And by the way, we have a Facebook page cleverly titled The Third Party on Facebook. Nobody's on it yet, but you could be the first one to go there and start a conversation, and let's talk about getting a third party going and fixing the broken Congress. It really isn't that hard to do if we can get people interested in doing it. I've made this point in the book. It's like the snowball at the top of the hill. You just get it started, and it picks up snow as it goes, and by the time you get to the bottom, you've got a gigantic snowball, and that's what it would take to get a third party going. We have to get people interested. Now, if you're interested in a third party, I hope you'll join in, go to our Facebook page, The Third Party, and start a conversation, and let's see if we can get other people to join you. We could get this done. So I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going to keep pumping away here. All right, that's basically the intro. That's all I need to say about this, I think. So let's get the show started.
Jive Daddy.
Daddy, tell me a joke.
All right, let's do a dad joke of the day. Why couldn't the quarterback make a phone call? Well, because he couldn't find a receiver.
Oh, boy.
Ooh, Alan White Show.
The recording group Starbuck, which is really a guy named Bruce Blackman, he is Starbuck. He's the songwriter and the producer and the lead singer and the guy that formed the band, and he wrote the song and the whole deal. And he had a big hit record in 1976 called Moonlight Feels Right. So before we get him on as a guest, I'm going to play the song for you. From 1976 from Starbuck and Bruce Blackman, this is Moonlight Feels Right.
The wind blew some luck in my direction. I caught it in my hands today. I finally made a tricky French connection. You winked and gave me your okay. I'll take you on a trip beside the ocean and drop the top of Chesapeake Bay. Ain't nothing like the sky that knows a potion. The moon will send you on your way. Moonlight feels right. Moonlight feels right. We'll lay back and observe the constellations and watch the moon smiling bright. I play the radio on southern stations, 'cause southern bells are hell at night. You say you came to Baltimore from Ole Miss, a class of 7-4 gold ring. The eastern moon looks ready for a wet kiss to make the tide rise again. Moonlight feels right. Moonlight right. On Sunday morning and watch it fade the moon away. I guess you know I'm giving you a warning, 'cause me and moon are itching to play. I'll take you on a trip beside the ocean and drop the top of Chesapeake Bay. Ain't nothing like the sky to dose a potion. The moon will send you on your way. Moonlight feels right. Moonlight feels right. Moonlight.
Jive Daddy.
All right, my guest today is Bruce Blackman, who is Starbuck. Starbuck was a band, and is a band, from the 1970s, had a huge hit in 76 called Moonlight Feels Right. And he wrote a book about it, The Road to Moonlight. So let me talk about the book real quick as I'm introducing it. And the book is wonderful. It's fall down funny. And the man is as good a book writer as anybody I know. It's not a musician who wrote a book. It's a writer who happens to be a musician. I imagine you can get that, The Road to Moonlight, at Amazon. He's still making music. He's not as old as I am. Nobody is, but he's still making music and he's still making hits. And he's Bruce Blackman, and he is my guest today. Hey, Bruce.
Hello, Alan. Happy to be here.
Three things I wanted to talk to you about. One is the work that you do. I've known you 50 years, and you've always worked very, very hard. Bands, right on Facebook, they whine and complain that clubs aren't hiring them. They don't pay them any money. I get the feeling that they go into the garage, smoke a doobie, write a song, and think they're the Beatles. There's a tremendous amount of work involved. The amount of work involved is incredible. Can you talk to that?
Sure. I've always said when the art part ends, the hard part begins.
Right.
For every hour that I spend writing, arranging, or recording, I spend 4 to 6 hours promoting. You know, because no airplay, nothing happens.
Right.
And it takes a lot of work, and it's very difficult, even close to impossible, to break through to radio. But with the advent of streaming, for instance, I have a list of the contacts of 17,000 streaming radio stations in 222 countries, and so I work that list along with the 8,000 station list of terrestrial stations, and each song depends on the genre. I work classic hits, light rock, soft rock, adult contemporary, yacht rock, and beach music. And depending on the songs, which genres I work, some of them multiple genres, some of them just one genre.
Do you send the song or do you send a link?
I actually send the song now. When I first started, I only really got into this deeply beginning in 2022. I started out with the link, but what I found is, you know, when I was touring with Starbuck for 4 years, we never went into a town that I didn't go into the radio station and talk to them. And over the years, some of those DJs that were in little bitty towns are now in big towns. And just because you got old in radio doesn't mean you lost your voice.
Right.
So a lot of the radio DJs are much older. So I have a rapport with them. They remember me from back when. So now I can send the song direct.
But if you're reaching out to, say, a big group of radio stations, do you send the song like just willy-nilly, or do you send them a link first? Some of them kind of resent getting a link, don't they? I mean, an attachment, don't they?
Well, in the first place, if you're reaching out to the big conglomerates, it's just a complete waste of time. I had a guy from iHeart tell me that they only play signed artists with the big three.
Yeah,
United Artists, Sony, and Warner Brothers.
You know,
So you're not going to get through iHeart, or you got Cumulus, Town Square Media, Jack FM, Alpha Media, all these conglomerates. The non-conglomerate end of the radio world is 10 times bigger than the conglomerate.
you know, to be honest, the iHeart deal, I think there's a snake in that woodpile. And let me explain that. See what you think. The iHeart stations, I think there are 588 of them last I saw. Most of them are top 40. And they don't play anything except the big three, RIAA, and I can't believe somebody sent you a letter saying that, but okay, that's amazing to me. And
Yeah.
they don't charge radio to play. iHeart doesn't pay anything to play the masters of the big three. But the streamers have to pay something like 80% of their gross revenue. I mean, you know, there's kind of a snake, I think, in that woodpile. Somehow a deal got made. We're gonna land on the streamers, but if you will just play our music exclusively, we won't charge you. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's just a back-end payola deal.
Yeah.
You know, that you could get a legal payola deal.
I don't know if it's legal. That's a real good question.
Well, I don't think it is, but I mean, you'd have to be Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos to take on the big three, you know.
The big three probably have 0.00001% of the music in the world. I mean,
That's about right.
It's just such a tiny part of the music in the world. And people like you and my friend Jack Pepper, who has made wonderful music. You're making great music, and you have to fight so hard to get noticed, and you can't get on terrestrial radio. It's stupid, and I don't know if it's legal or not. We got to look into that. I don't know exactly where to start, but that's a nightmare.
I don't either, but I do get on terrestrial radio. It's just the non-conglomerate
independent
stations. Now recently, Cumulus picked up one of my songs, and they put it on 16 stations.
Right. Okay.
That just flew out of the air. I don't know how that happened.
This is an iHeart deal, especially, and that company generally is awful. I remember reading. This must be 15 years ago, an article in Fortune 500 magazine. I was in the doctor's office waiting for my son to come out of an appointment. And it was the head of Clear Channel, they were called then, and his son, the two of them.
Yeah.
The dad was in his 70s, son was in his 50s. And in the article, the CEO of Clear Channel said, we don't care about music. We don't care about DJs. We don't care about ratings. If you're not listening to Station A, we don't care. You're listening to Station B, and we own that too. And I thought, wow, they're going to go broke eventually with that. They fired all the talent. You know, you hear a guy in Atlanta doing a morning show, Bert, on the whatever that station was, 100, and you think, oh, that's local. Well, it happens that Bert is local, but 188 other stations are listening to him too. It's called voice tracking.
Exactly.
They are killing radio.
Exactly. I had a meeting with one of the suits at Capitol Records many, many years ago, and he said, you know, this would be a great business if we didn't have to have artists.
Yeah. Right. The record companies used to do three things. They paid for the session, and I remember, I don't know how much it cost you to record Moonlight, but I remember up in Philadelphia, it could cost anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 to make just a single. And the record companies put that money up. They distributed the actual records or CDs, whichever, because you can't sell 1 million records if there's not 1 million records in the stores. So they have to get the distribution out there. Now, those two things are gone. Now you don't need them. You can make the records at home on Ableton or Pro Tools or whatever. So you don't need the record companies to pay for the session anymore. And there's no distribution they have to pay for. It's MP3s. It's all digital. So we're left with promo. And what you've done is become the record company with your list of... Did you build that list of radio stations yourself, or did you buy it or find it?
Oh, no. If you buy a radio list, you're barking up the wrong tree, man. No, I built it. It took me... Well, I started building it even before I switched to, the digital promo, but it took me about 8 years to develop that list.
Wow. And on the list, is it a lot of information, or is it just the station and the email?
Oh no, I have the person, whether it's a music director, a program director, sometimes it's the brand manager, sometimes it's the owner. but I have the contact that matters. You know, you were talking about the record companies. Another thing that they did that was good, you actually had a vetting system back then. So I used to tell people when I put Starbuck together, we put ads in the Great Speckled Bird newspaper and audition.
I remember that.
Me and Bo Wagner.
Yeah.
And we rented a farmhouse out in Sandy Spring, and everybody lived there except me and Peg. And that's where we rehearsed. I had a big blackboard in there, and I wrote out a 10-point plan of what we were going to do, and they thought I was crazy. They said all it was about was getting a record deal, because I had already been in 2 bands and already had 2 national records and a mild hit with Mrs. Bluebird in the late 60s. But I had never not had a record deal, you know. But anyway, we put that whole thing together. But what record companies would do, they would vet. If I used to say, if you're playing locally and you're playing original music, and there's 500 people standing in line outside to get in, you just got a record deal.
Yeah.
But now. I read a thing that said there was 1 million kids that are making 25 AI songs every day. 25 million songs.
Right. Well, that brings me to my next subject, which is AI. What do you think about AI as it applies to music?
I don't like it. I don't need it, and I don't use it. I use it to generate images, still images for a video, and then I have a guy in England that works with me to put videos together. But in terms of music, I don't use it at all. I'm just not interested in it. Everybody that is, go for it. You know,
well,
it won't be me. I actually record to tape. I record I have a studio here in my house. It's the only reason I can even do what I do. You're talking about how much it costs to even record a single, but I record 8 basic tracks to an Atari 1-inch tape. Then I transfer it to the computer and add all the sweeteners, etc.
Right. Well, you don't need AI. I understand that. You're a songwriter. Yeah. You're a producer. You can play every instrument on Pro Tools. You can make your own records. You don't need anybody else, and you certainly don't need AI. You heard some of the stuff that Jack Pepper's doing. Jack is he wrote the songs. He wrote the lyrics, wrote the title, produced the record. All the vocals are live. However, the instruments, the arrangement, and the music is AI. So it's a combination of him. He's driving the bus for sure. Boy, the stuff is wonderful that he's created.
Yeah, I heard it. I thought there's a couple things that blew me away.
Me too. I actually,
whatever blows your dress up, whatever works for you, let it work.
Well, AI's not going anywhere. It's going to be everywhere. It reminds me of when we first got computers and we first got Pro Tools, and they would say, well, if you're using Pro Tools, you're not a real musician.
Oh yeah.
And I remember back in the day when they invented cassette, that was going to be the end of the world. Nobody was ever going to buy music again because of the cassette. And it just, times change.
Sure. When Moonlight came out, it started moving up the charts, and it was like number 38 with a bullet, and then the following week it was 38, stayed 38, no bullet. Record company called me and said the big stations won't play it because they say it's fake. It has synthesizers in it, and no one could play that solo. Weird, because the only synthesizer you had was a mini mode, and it didn't play itself. You had to play it, every note. They asked us to play the Southeastern Radio Conference in Birmingham, and all the people there were program directors from radio stations, Billboard, Cashbox, Record World, Cal Rudman.
Like the Bobby Poe conventions.
All those, yeah. And what we did is we had the stage blacked out, and Bo Wagner put on a pair of white gloves, and it had a black light pin light right above him. And we started out with all they could see of those white hands on Bo's marimba going, and then he did that for a moment, and then the lights came on, and we went into Moonlight. And the very next week, we jumped from like number 38 to 16 with a bullet. They realized we were actually playing.
I went through that with the Alicia Bridges record. It was stuck at 6. Polydor came to me. I knew the guys at Polydor, Herb Helt and Tim Monaghan, those guys. And they wanted to know why the Alicia...
I knew them too.
Why wasn't Alicia a hit record? And I said, well, it says right on the record, parenthetically, disco round. It's a disco record. We don't play 45s, and you don't have a 12-inch. So I gave him the name of Jim Burgess, a really good remixer, and then he worked here in town at the Casbah back in the day. And they got the remix, and they got it out there. And the next week, it's still 60. And the week after that, it's still 60. And I'm thinking, maybe I was wrong, but I'm never wrong about this. And the next week, I looked at the dance chart to see what was going on. And it was number one, first week on the chart. Then I went to the Hot 100, jumped from 60 to like 7. I mean, everybody was waiting to play it, but they weren't going to play a disco record that was not being played in the clubs. You have to work the chart. I understand that. But, last year, I guess it was last year, maybe the year before, I think it was last year. The record of the year was Rich Men North of Richmond. Are you familiar with it?
Yes, I am. And the guy who did it messed up real bad.
Well, he hit the Billboard Hot 100 at number 1, first week on the chart. And radio would not play it. They tried to get in the Grammys, get nominated, and the Grammys would not allow it because the Grammys are owned by the RIAA.
Yeah.
He was offered a record contract and he turned it down. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I understand. I don't either because what I read is that Warner Brothers offered him $8 million.
I heard that too.
And when I saw that, I went, little guy, you don't know what's about to happen. You're fixing to disappear. Take that $8 million.
Take the $8 million. Absolutely right. I don't know why he didn't. It was I have to say, it was a good song, good melody, good lyric, and that was a kind of clever production he did with his dogs in the trailer and all that. But to get to number 1 and have Radio iHeart refuse to play the record blew my mind.
Well, there you go. That's right back to the control that iHeart had. I know my home state, where I grew up in Mississippi, iHeart has Gulfport, Hattiesburg, Jackson, and Tupelo. That's 85% of the population right there. That's the top 5 towns. And it's like that in every state.
It is. I don't know what we could do about that. Well, I have a plan, but I need 3 quarters.
Hey, well, I figured out how to get around it. So
Yeah, well, but I'm not sure I've ever met anybody that did the amount of work you must have done. I mean, that must have taken you hundreds of hours to nail those. Where'd you have to go on Google, right?
Thousands of hours. Yeah, it just took, I worked 4 or 5 hours every day just generating a list at work. I noticed that the list you can buy, there's all these companies, there's 100 of them, and these poor young guys will pay them $300 and we'll get your song out to 14,000 stations. I mean, come on. It's just the ancillary music business outside of the real music business is bigger than the music business itself. That's so many ripoffs.
Right. Well, there's only 3 record companies, but there are imprints and distribution deals. I know that Taylor Swift's original label, Big Machine, Scott Borchetta, that looks like an independent label, but it wasn't. It was distributed by Universal.
There you go.
And so you can, I guess you can still get distribution deals. I don't know. If you don't have 5 million views on YouTube and Spotify and whatever, that's how they're finding the artist. They're finding the artist. And I can't blame them for that. I mean, if somebody's got 10 million views on a song, okay, people like it. That might be somebody worth signing. I mean, you don't have to go to the clubs.
Well, I was talking to Doug Johnson a couple of years ago. He's with they have Kelsey Ballerini.
Yeah.
He has Black River or something. The people who own the Buffalo Bills put that company together. And their idea was to sign the artists and then have those artists play halftime at the Buffalo Bills and also have concerts before and after. And it worked. But Doug, the first person they passed on was Taylor Swift. But I told him about this thing I had done, and it got 50,000 views in 3 days. And he said, we looked at a guy who had 50 million views in 2 weeks. I said, my God. I said, did you sign him? And he said, nah, we don't like the way he sings.
Wow. Well, I don't know that anybody could have predicted Taylor Swift. She was only 15 when she signed with Borchetta. Her father put up the money. He's a stockbroker.
Yeah.
And he put up the money to get Borchetta going. But she started out country, and she was pure country in the beginning. Pretty blonde that played guitar, and she lives in Nashville, so that all worked. But in her own head, she was doing what artists have done for years, which is to write songs for teenage girls. That's who buys records, and that's who she writes to. And man, did that work. I mean, now mothers take their daughters to her concerts because she's 36.
Yeah, and she worked it real hard just with social media, just person to person, answering everybody who wrote her and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, she's terrific with the fans. She is. I got to give her.
I'm sure she's got a whole army to do that now, but that she was a very smart marketer.
Yeah, she was.
Much more so than a musician.
I remember I'm not sure, some kind of a text that they released, and it was Scott Borchetta to her saying, Taylor, please, please, please put a country song on the new album. And her response was, not going to happen. Love you. And she was she was going to make the move away from country into pop music. I've been listening to her stuff. She doesn't make dance records, and I was a dance DJ before I retired. So there's nothing really for me to play, but I listen to her stuff, and she's just aiming right at the young girls. Leslie Gore did the same thing, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's my party, and I'll cry if I want to.
And now it's Judy's turn to cry. And You Don't Own Me, which became...
Yeah, that's right.
I talked to John Madeira. John Madeira is a good friend of mine. He wrote You Don't Own Me. And I was talking to him one day, and I said, what's it feel like to have written this anthem? I mean, they're going to, it's like the first feminist record. He said, Dave and I were just trying to write a song about a girl who's pissed off at her boyfriend.
There you go. That's one of the... Some guy at a record company told me that every big hit song is either to a woman or about a woman.
Yeah. Well, we've always known, I mean, even Sinatra at 45 in Times Square, the Bobby Soxers, they were all teenagers. And then we know they were teenage girls that fawned over Elvis and also the Beatles. So Taylor knew who she was writing to. She wrote about relationships, and it was brilliant. I mean, and she had a record deal, and they actually paid her. Well, though, I assume you know the story where she started to re-record her stuff. She waited 5 years, which the contract required, and then she started to re-record her stuff, and she talked iHeart into only playing what's called Taylor's version. And Scooter Braun must have been suicidal down there because he thought he had her catalog, and she recut it, and then eventually she bought her stuff. I'm not sure.
Yeah, when she did that, now she owned both the writer and the master recording right.
Right, and she has since bought the originals, so now she owns Taylor's version and the original versions, and she's got I don't know $2.5-3 billion. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's going to get a lot bigger too.
Yeah, that tour she did was unbelievable. The stadiums, I watched part of it. It was incredible. Well, I don't know. I keep waiting for iHeart to go out of business because nobody's really listening to radio. I mean, I guess
it's nothing like it used to be.
I guess maybe they listen in the morning on the way to work, and maybe in the afternoon on the way back, drive time. But other than that, I don't think anybody listens. I can't imagine anybody listening at home to radio. Everybody's on their computers.
No, not at all. It's strictly a drive time market.
Well, I hope the people that are in the music business or that know people in the music business that are listening to this will take this to heart. What you did, you really became the record company. It's that simple with your list. I can't imagine how many, many hours you spent building that over a period of years, right?
Oh, yeah, about 10 years, really.
Wow. Did you just Google them?
Yeah, and I also had information from DJs. Probably at least half the radio stations would say, "Oh man, you ought to send this to so and so." Well,
right.
I'd never heard of so and so, and so I would get that added to the list and contact them and tell them so and so referred, and it was very effective. It was just brick by brick.
Is it true that I don't know if this is just lore or not, but I heard that you and Bo took a box of records and went on the road to radio stations in the same way Loretta Lynn did in the beginning. Did you actually do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Moonlight came out in September of '75, and way Private Stock worked. Then they'd send a couple dozen copies out to the big station, and if nothing happened, that was it. And every now and then something would happen. Well, they did that for us. Nothing happened. So Bo and I decided we would promote the record ourselves. And we got in contact with Private Stock and asked them to give us 500 records, and they wouldn't do it. So we had to buy 500 records. And Bo went east from Atlanta, and I went west. And we'd stop. And back then we had there was a book, ARB book, was that what it was called? That would list all the stations in their format. We'd pull into a town, look for the tower, and just go to the state. A lot of little bitty stations, and a lot of those played it. But it wasn't enough to move the needle. And the last place we went was WERC in Birmingham. This was probably in October of '75. Mike St. John was the program director. Met with him. He listened to it. He said, "Man, this is a great record." He said, "This is not a fall winter record. This is a spring summer. I'll play it next spring." Well, we thought that was just a nice way of saying no. But the following spring, he put it on the air in Birmingham, and it went to number one in Birmingham in a couple of weeks. Next thing we know, we're opening in Birmingham for ELO. And Moonlight was number one at that time. And then Mike St. John called Private Stock, told them what was going on. They better get some copies into the market there. So they did. They seeded the market in Birmingham, and the record sold like 10,000 copies in like a month. Then Private Stock knew they had something. Then they jumped on.
I remember Larry Utah. He was an independent sucker anyhow. He ran Private Stock, didn't he?
Yeah. He had Amy Malabelle before that, which got bought out by
Arista
group after Clive Davis got caught. And did Arista. But Larry then formed his own company. He had quite, he had Blondie, and he didn't even do it. I heard Blondie in New York right before they had the hit. Blew me away.
He also had Frankie Valli.
Oh yeah, my eyes adored you.
Right.
We went to see Frankie Valli when he was in Atlanta, and I mentioned to him that I was from Private Stock, and I thought his head was going to explode. He hated them, because you'd all screwed everybody, including Frankie Valli.
Yeah. I knew Frankie really well when I lived up north, and he told me that My Eyes Adored You and Sherry were the only two records that he thought were going to be hits. I didn't think My Eyes Adored You would be a hit right in the middle of disco, because he had Swearing to God and a couple of others. Also on Private Stock. He did a lot of money for Larry.
Oh, yeah.
And then
quite a few people did, including me.
Yeah. I'm just curious musically. What do you think the marimba contributed to the fact that everybody loved that record? I mean, to me, marimba is vibes, but it's the same thing. And nobody was playing that. I mean, I can't think of a record in the rock and roll era that used that.
Vibes, the vibraphone has metal bars, and it's electronic. It's all mic'd up. Marimba is an acoustic instrument with wooden bars.
Oh, so okay.
Bo Wagner, when I was with Eternity's Children, we had a song, Mrs. Bluebird, that hit in the Southeast but didn't go nationally. We had these two Dixie Mafia guy managers. then they got 50%.
Oh.
And then they did a side deal with Kevin Deveridge, who was the manager of Eric Burden and the Animals. They put us on tour with Eric Burden, but Kevin Deveridge got 25%, and they would. I'm talking about of our gross when we played. So they got 75% of our gross, which left us 25%, and we got $50 a week, living on the road, paying our own expenses, staying in motel. I got tired of living like a refugee, and I left. Well, at that point, they hired Bo Wagner. Bo Wagner, the marimba and vibes player. Bo joined the group because he liked the songs they were recording. When he found out that the guy who wrote the songs had left, he left. He then went on tour with the Fifth Dimension, one other big group, and then he became Liberace's music director. So in 1970, I get a call from a complete stranger named Bo Wagner, and he invited me and Peggy to come down and to see Liberace. We weren't interested in seeing Liberace. He said, "Oh, come on, man, you can come backstage and meet Lee." So we went, met Lee. Bo Wagner talked to me about putting a group together because he was looking for a writer that could incorporate his vibes and marimba into pop songs. That was the whole idea. So that's when we put ads in The Great Speckled Bird, blah, blah, blah. And that's how the group got formed. So our intention was to do that because Bo was he played, he was with Gary Paxton out in Bakersfield. He played on all the association records. He played on a bunch of hits, mostly drums. But he was well-versed in the music business. He said, if you're going to break through, you got to be doing something different. You can't sound like anybody else, So that was our whole intention, and that's the way it happened. So that's how the marimba vibes got put in.
It caught me when I heard the record. I went, "Wow, nobody's doing that." That's just
check this out. Today, that marimba is used for the PhD level in mallet in virtually every university in America.
Really?
And when Larry Udall heard it, he said the song was too long. It was 3:47. He said, got to be under 3 minutes, so cut that weird solo out.
Good God.
And I have no idea how I had the stones to say no, but I did. And I said, no, we're not cutting it out.
The thing about the record companies that I found, and I dealt with a lot of them too, with Len Barry, and when I was in New York with the Lemon Pipers and all that. The record companies, I mean, they're good businessmen. I understand that, and I understand they're corporations responsible to their stockholders and supposed to make a profit and all that. But they are absolutely tone deaf. Clive Davis is supposed to have these great ears. He turned down At This Moment by Billy Vera, said he didn't think it was a good song.
Turned down Moonlight Feels Right, too.
Did he really?
He sure did. I met with Clive.
Every Whitney Houston song, with the exception of I Want to Dance with Somebody and How Will I Know, which were the first two, pretty much everything else is a cover. Saving All My Love for You is the Fifth Dimension. The Greatest Love of All is George Benson. I'm Every Woman is Chaka Khan. I Will Always Love You is Dolly. I mean, he really didn't have any original material for her. He turned everything down.
Yeah.
And I had a thing where Billy Vera's manager was a running buddy of mine in New York back in '68, and he set me up with an interview with RCA because I came from radio, and I have what I call top 40 ears, and so I was going to be a promo man. I went, and they played me 3 records. The follow-up to Master Jack, I told them it might go to number 72 or something, but it wasn't going past that, and it actually did go to number 72 by coincidence. And another record that was a real pig, I said nothing's going to happen with that. And the third record, I said to them, congratulations, that's a record of the year. And they didn't hire me because they thought all 3 records were big. And record number 3 was Light My Fire by Jose Feliciano, which became the record of the year. They just...
Interesting.
They're just... Yeah, and the funny part of that was I was down in North Carolina with the Flying Dutchman at WTOB, and we wound up breaking that record. It broke out of Carolina. Dutch and I went on the road with that one. We went to Greensboro and Raleigh and Charlotte, and we broke the record. And we didn't do it because of my meeting with RCA. We did it because of some kids we met that were working for RCA, and they were going to get fired because they were pushing the record. RCA had no idea. I mean, maybe Neil Bogart could hear, but I don't know anybody else that could hear. Neil Bogart was pretty good about hearing a hit, and he had a heck of a.
It was rare. I mean, everybody, all the majors turned down Moonlight Feels Right. They said, well, it's not Southern rock and it's not disco. That's what was happening at the time.
Right.
And they said, what's the point? So and then 2 years later, they're burning disco records. I actually like most of the disco records, except for stuff like Disco Doug. But I like that production, that lush production.
I did too.
I think banning the disco was just a bunch of, just a stunt. That's all.
It was just a stunt.
Really banned.
And it all it did was ban the name. The disco is simply short for discotheque. And so
now there's over 1,000 what's called new disco streaming radio stations.
Well, the music never changed. There's no real difference between Off the Wall and Thriller. Thriller is after disco became bad. It's all dance music. It was just the name. And playing records for dancing in a club is a discotheque, and there's still thousands and thousands of them.
Yeah, you mentioned the RCA. When we had been together 2 weeks when Bo and I did audition the people from the Great Speckled Bird, and in the meantime, Gary Paxton had moved to Nashville. And so Bo called Gary, and Gary said, well, get on up here. We'll record an album. So we went up to Nashville, been together 2 weeks, recorded an album in one day, and got a deal with RCA. But they told us that we had the name of our band at that time was Mississippi. Those 3 of the guys from the band were from Mississippi. But RCA told us that we couldn't use that name because they were about to sign a group from Australia who had the name Mississippi. So I had to change the name. I had just reread Moby Dick. First mate Moby Dick is Starbuck. I thought that was a cool name, so I said Starbuck. Then the group from Australia named Mississippi changed their name to the Little River Band.
Oh, well, they became pretty.
That's how the name Starbucks.
They became pretty successful.
And then you mentioned Jose. Yeah. We played several shows with them. And you mentioned Jose Feliciano. That first group that Bo and I put together was, mostly groups formed together from a neighborhood. People. Well, these are all strange, and some of them were true nutcases. So we changed up, put a second group together, and Bo knew Jose Feliciano. And he was looking for a group to back him up on the tours. So we went out to Lukenbach, Texas, and stayed at Hondo Crouch's ranch and rehearsed for Jose in the barn there. And then what turned out from that was because of some controversy of Jose singing the national anthem at a baseball game.
I remember that.
Tour. So we came back, and then some of those guys left, and we put the third iteration together. And the one that got known was the fourth iteration of Starbuck. The only 2 that remained the whole time were me and Bo. as you say, there always has to be a driver, and we were the driver.
Well, it's always been about promotion, so good for you. That's why you're having all these hits, and we're going to play Moonlight, but also your new one, what's it called? Doo-Wop?
Doo-Wop Bop.
Doo-Wop Bop, and that's going to be a monster hit.
Well, as I told you, now it's been a few minutes now, but I just put the video up on Facebook, and it got 1,226 views in the first 15 minutes. And then maybe 15 minutes later, I looked at it, and it jumped to 2,431.
Good heavens. That's great. That's great.
That's a lot. It's just on Facebook, and then which doesn't include the YouTube views.
Well, you absolutely deserve everything you get. Nobody works harder than you, and that's one of the things one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast strictly about music. You and Jack, you do the work, and if you don't do the work, it's just not going to happen. So good for you.
Zero chance.
Yeah, zero chance, right. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I love the work that you're doing, and, you're not as old as I am, but you're not a kid, and you're still banging out the hits.
Hey, I'm just having a good time. It gives me something to do. Don't have any hobbies.
Yeah, that's what Taylor Swift said. She was on Seth, whatever his name is, the Late Show, a kid from Saturday Night Live, I guess.
Seth Meyers.
Yeah, and she knows him. I guess they were friends from a long time ago. And she was on and did a significant interview. She explained how she wrote Life of a Showgirl. She would do the Eras tour, and it's like a 3-hour show she was doing. Then she would go back to the hotel, and she would write The Life of a Showgirl back at the hotel as a way of unwinding. And so Seth said to her, well, do you ever sleep? And she said, yeah, I get 8 or 9 hours sleep every day. And he said, well, how is that possible with everything you do? And she said, I don't do anything else. I don't have any hobbies. This is all I do. And
that's it.
And it's the same with you, right?
Yep. Same with me. Even when we first came to Atlanta, I had to work 4 jobs just so we could eat. But I still managed to put in hours writing.
When did you come here? What year?
1969.
I remember you, at one point, Robert Holliday was managing you, and he had come off, he had a big agency, Holiday Attractions. He and Hugh Rogers kind of ran Atlanta.
Yeah, that's true. And Jim, the promo guy, they called him Bear, and Long John Silver. Those are the two I remember.
Wow, long time ago. All right, buddy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It sure was.
I appreciate you coming on.
Okay, Alan.
It was important for me to have you talk about the work, because these bands, if they don't do the work, they're just wasting their time. The music is just going to be, in a file folder on their computer.
That's it. If they don't do the work, they'd be better off buying a lottery ticket.
Bruce Blackman, Starbuck. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Alan. I enjoyed it.
That was very interesting.
Jive Daddy.
Okay, this is the latest from Bruce Blackman and Starbuck. It's called Doo-Wop Bop, and it is a big hit record.
Beach dancing will be wild and free. Waves crashing to the melody of breeze in our hair and sand on our skin. This is where the good times begin. Doo-wop bop on the beach tonight. Dancing till the moon is a spotlight. Move and groove to the ocean sway. Doo-wop bop in the coastal waves. Sun up high, hot sand on our feet. Hear the waves, summertime beat. Sipping on a coconut, ocean breeze. We'll be dancing to the rhythm of the sea. Doo-wop bop, let the good times flow. Pineapple skies and the moonlight glow. Doo-wop bop, here in paradise. Pour a little laughter, shake it with some ice. Sun-kissed skin, endless nights, laughter on the wind. Summertime, it's a state of mind. Come along with me, leave your worries behind. Doo-wop bop on the beach tonight, dancing till
And now, boys and girls, it's time for another trip through make-believe land with the Story Lady.
There once was an emperor who thought of nothing but new clothes. One day, a tailor told the emperor that he could make beautiful clothes for him that stupid people would not be able to see. The tailor then collected a bunch of money and only pretended to make clothes for the emperor. When the make-believe clothes were finished, the emperor put them on and paraded through the city. And everybody pretended that they could see the clothes, except for one person, Hugh Hefner, who asked the emperor to be the playmate of the month, which he agreed to and enjoyed very much, except for the staples in his tummy, which hurt a lot.
Thank you, Story Lady. Next time, boys and girls, the Story Lady will tell us how to check and raise when playing stud poker.
Jive Daddy.
My next guest is a good friend of mine by the name of Jack Pepper. He's a songwriter and a producer. And before we do his interview, I want to play a song for you that he has made. This is a combination of live performers. All the singing, for example, is live. And AI. We're going to talk about that combination with him. But before we do that, I want to play you this first lead single, which I think is a masterpiece. This is J.T. Pepper and Hidden Figures. This is Day by Day.
Day by day, day by day, day by day, day by day, I'm falling deeper into your embrace. Day by day, day by day, day by day, in every moment love finds its place. Day by day, day by day, day by day, you make my heart soar high above. With every heartbeat, I know it's true. Day by day. Day by day, day by day, day by day, you make my heart soar high above. Day by day, day by day, day by day, together forever. Just me and you.
Okay, my guest today is Jack Pepper. I've known him for 1,000 years. He's a songwriter, a record producer, a singer, a dancer. He's a music guy. Been a music guy as long as I've known him, which is at least 50 years. I know that he produced many records in the studio, just regular audio, but now he has an album. You just heard a cut from it, Day by Day, that is a combination of live and AI. It's fascinating. And we're going to talk to him about it. Jack Pepper is my guest. Hey, Jack.
Hey, Alan. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
What I'm curious about is how you made the decision. This is AI, this is live. You use live girls. You could have used AI singers and didn't.
Right. I didn't think the AI singers would come across truthfully. They would sound AI, and I didn't want to have that. I wanted to have soul in there. And that's what a lot of people talk about is that, oh, you're going to lose your soul if you use AI. Well, there's a way that you can combine the two, analog and AI, and get your product.
Well, and that's what's going to happen, and you're just ahead of the curve. Now, you wrote the lyrics.
Right.
The titles are yours.
Right.
You produced the record.
Correct.
Are there any instruments that are live?
No, it's all AI.
Okay, so AI is the instruments.
AI is the band. If you think of
right. No, I got it.
Think of the Wrecking Crew.
Right.
Instead of the Wrecking Crew, I've got AI.
That's great, Jack. That's the perfect analogy to make to the AI critics. If you look at Love and Feeling, all the Beach Boys records, Sinatra, Stranger, that's all the Wrecking Crew.
Right. When I go in and make a record and I'm using AI, just like I'm talking to a musician, I have to give it direction. Just like a musician, I would say, okay, I want you to play really heavy here. I want you to double up on the middle eight or, whatever. But you have to do the same thing with AI. You have to tell it what to do. Now, truthfully, yeah, there's AI programs out there for music that you can just push a button, put a couple of keywords in, I love my wife. It'll come up with some song, but really doesn't come out with anything quality.
And even if it did, that's just another way of using AI.
Right.
What I think was brilliant is the melody. The hardest thing to do in the music business is to write a catchy earworm melody. Very, very hard to do. We know people that are good at it. Billy Joel, Elton John, they can write those melodies, but it's hard. So you gave AI the melody. On every one of the songs on your album, the melody is terrific. And when we finish the interview, I'm going to play a song, called Kiss Me, I Love You. It's a slow song. And ballads are even more demanding of a great melody. The melody on that, they want to put it in the movies. I have a friend that working on a movie wants to use it in his film. And I could see that. I told you send it to Cubby Broccoli's, like, a James Bond theme.
Right.
Now, the girl singers are live. Studio girls?
No. Well, one girl was a studio girl because she's married to the guy that owns a recording studio. She's been a performer her whole life. And the other girl came through the studio, and then the one that I recruited came from church.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So, but
the church singers, if people don't tap into the church choir and the lead singers in churches, they're missing the boat.
I've been saying it for years. People, I like to watch the television program American Idol. I've never missed an episode. And it's not about singing. It's about being the most, it comes from a British show called Pop Idol, pop for popular. And whoever wins is going to be the most popular person. Singing is just the thing that they're doing. And I keep saying, everybody can sing. Go to church.
Sure.
Yeah. And
look at the famous one like Whitney Houston. She came out of the church.
Yeah, and Aretha and all of the really popular R&B singers, particularly of the 60s.
Correct.
Came out of church music, right? And the guys too, Otis Redding and others came from the church. And they still do. But gospel now is a separate niche, and non-gospel people are not really exposed to those singers. We kind of know Amy Grant, but she's about the only one. CeCe Winans, I guess.
These mega churches they have now, they put a lot of money behind their musical section, and they are just really getting a lot of talent in these churches.
Yeah, and they can really, really sing in gospel.
Yes.
I remember my friend B.J. Thomas, who was a big pop star with Hooked on a Feeling. And
who doesn't know B.J. Thomas?
Yeah, and Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. And B.J. went into gospel music. And I said to Lenny, they can just hand him his Grammy. Because BJ's one of the best voices I ever heard. That's what happened. He just won Grammy after Grammy.
Right.
Because he's so good. There's a lot of static about AI. I think we were talking the other day, and I mentioned to you that the Academy Awards, they say that if anybody uses AI for a set design, they won't be eligible for an Oscar. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Set design?
Set design.
That's crazy.
And I think they've been using it for years anyhow, to be honest with you. CG is...
Right. What do you do when you're sitting in front of a computer with a CAD, the computer-aided drawing, and to draw on a set? And you say, put a couch here. No, put a chair there.
Right.
No, put a
And
table there.
if you do that, if AI decides where the couch goes,
Right.
if you decide the Oscars are still okay. But if if AI decides where that couch goes, you're not eligible for an Oscar. Now, and we remember, you and I are old enough to remember, I'm much older than you are, but I remember when cassette came, that was going to be the end of the record business. Everybody was going to take the music off the radio and nobody would ever buy music again.
I remember.
None of that happened. And then when computers came along and got sophisticated enough so that you could make music on them, Pro Tools and Ableton and the various other music programs, that was the end of the world. If you used Pro Tools, you weren't a real musician. Remember that?
Oh, yes. I've used, when Pro Tools came out, I remember using it, years ago with Malaya, a song that I cut.
Great song.
And, thank you. And the feeling was, you would lay something down and I'd put it into Pro Tools and I'd tweak it. It might be a little flat note here and there. I could correct that on Pro Tools instead of having the session player come in and sit there for another hour, setting up the microphones, getting everything ready to re-record because of one note. Well, I could go ahead and put it into Pro Tools, which everybody complained, you're going to take the soul out of the music. It's not really going to be the bass player. And they were so wrong. It's, that's antiquated thinking.
Absolutely. But change means resistance.
Absolutely. AI is just another tool.
Exactly.
And you know what? In 10 years, people are going to be praising AI and saying, oh, gee, how could I ever live without this?
Right. Like we do about computers now. I couldn't live without the internet.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree.
It opens up the whole world. You just made a point that made me think, look how much the computer opened up the world. When I was looking, I collect Beatle records. So 30 years ago, I hoped that I would find the record I wanted at a convention or some obscure record shop. Now I could just get online and I can find some guy in Japan that has the record I want and have it mailed to me.
I mean, just in human contact. I mean, you don't live in Atlanta anymore. You live out in California now. I talk to you all the time online, and
Oh, absolutely.
You stay in touch. I have people that a lot of them are dead, and none of them are online. I'll say that. Not that I know of. They may be listening, but anyhow, I know people from back when I was like a teenager.
Sure.
That I could still contact.
I did was look up old girlfriends.
Facebook is terrific. Plus, we didn't talk about my book, but that kind of leads me to the book, The Third Party. My book is called The Third Party, cleverly titled, because I think we need a third party to break the tie in Congress, which is broken. And the internet is what's different. That's why a third party can work now where it's failed in the past. You don't have to have those signatures anymore. You used to go to a mall and stand there all Sunday afternoon and collect signatures to get somebody on the ballot. Now, in every state, an internet signature is a legal signature.
Right.
And that makes a big difference. And if you wanted to talk about a third party, if you think this is a good idea and share your view, beyond your living room, back in the day, you had to rent a Knights of Columbus hall. Now you got Facebook, and all the other chat programs. You could
absolutely talk. The connection, the human connection that the computer has given us is just amazing. I have more friends now than I ever had.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Are there bad things about it? Sure, you know what rage harvesting is?
Yes.
That's stupid. It's bad. And then obviously there are times when they take advantage of children, and I think Facebook and everybody.
Alan, that's true with anything.
Yeah.
Anything has a bad side to it.
Yeah,
somebody's going to say, well, AI made that super weapon and it wiped out this country. Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either. A lot of this comes from a movie called 2001.
Oh, yes. HAL.
A brilliant movie, 1965, 66, I think. And it was about a computer named HAL, which stood for something, interface something. But HAL was what the computer was named.
Yeah.
And HAL took over the spaceship.
Yes, HAL became sentient.
Right.
And that's what people are worried about here, is that these AI programs are going to end up in robot, and pretty soon they're going to start thinking for themselves.
Yeah, well, somebody said to me that I'm worried that AI is going to get intelligence. I said I'm not, but if they do gain intelligence, they should run for Congress. We need some intelligence in Congress. We don't have very much now.
Maybe we should require our congressmen to do a little AI research and see what,
Yeah.
What AI, another wonderful thing about AI are the ideas it'll come up with. And if you're sitting there struggling with something, you could, I think I've said this to you before, you have a conversation with AI.
Yeah.
It's not like Google or Chat GBT.
And that's going to get better, even better.
Yes, it actually learns and understands. And I could go back and say, you remember that thing we did last Tuesday? And it'll go, yes, Jack, I remember. Would you like me to pull that up? It's very sophisticated.
They should use the HAL voice. Remember the HAL voice?
Oh, yes.
It was, I'm trying to see if I can do it.
Say what? Sorry, Dave.
Yeah, sorry, Dave.
Right, sorry, Dave. We can't let you in.
I got to use that voice. It's like anything else, but I have to say, I'll give you a compliment. My example of great AI is your entire album.
Oh, thank you.
The melodies that AI wrote for you are fabulous, and your lyrics are always good. Your production and all that. The girls are terrific. They're live. It's just if I want to show people what the combination of AI and human beings is about, I would play them your album, and it's every track is great. There are about 6 singles on the thing.
Let me clarify a little bit about melody. It's not like the first thing that comes out is what you're going to use. You got to work it. You've got to massage it. You got to speak to the AI program and let it know what you like and don't like until you can get the melody that you want. Otherwise, most AI programs will just go to a default of things that they've learned and just keep giving you the same stuff over and over and over.
Right, which is exactly what you do in the studio.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You tell a live musician, I can't stand that solo. Let's do it again.
Right, or your producer or whatever. There's no lack of communication because of AI now. You've got to talk to it, and maybe even more. AI is not quite as intuitive as a bass player who's been doing session work for 30 years. That there's just things that they know. AI may take a little time to learn that, but once it learns it, it produces it perfectly.
But you have to know to ask for it.
Absolutely.
So you still have to know what you're doing.
I spent today about 3 hours. I'm producing a commercial for a friend who has these doggy chews that calm dogs down during fireworks and thunderstorms. And he calls it a funny name. And I have spent 3 hours today working with AI to try to correctly pronunciate the name of his product. And I'm still not there. So that's kind of an example of you have to work it. You have to work it.
Yeah, well, that's the point. AI is a tool, just like a computer. I remember when television came along, that was going to be the end of the world.
Or radio.
Yeah, and politicians in particular do not want members of the public talking to each other. That's the last thing they want. Even all this screaming between, you see the stuff online, the MAGA crowd screams at the Democrats, and the Democrats scream at the MAGA crowd. Even that is useful.
Right.
That discourse is useful, and now it wasn't possible before, and now it's possible. That's why we can have a third party. A third party can be built now because of the internet. That's what I'm trying to get going. And now I should ask AI to help me with that, shouldn't I? I never thought of that.
Well, I think artificial intelligence makes things better. It's by automating, the tedious tasks.
And the whole idea of computers. I was in data processing in the late 50s. I was an IBM operator, data processing operator, and all computers do is what humans do, but they can do it faster and more accurately.
AI can detect patterns beyond the human scale.
Right, and then there's algorithms. If I happen to search for a new toaster at Amazon, I'm going to get a bunch of toaster ads on my screen.
Sure.
Okay. That's the algorithm.
Right. Well, look at what that's given us already in real world improvements. So you got healthcare diagnostics.
Right.
You got GPS, route optimization. You got people are using AI for their financial security and investing. And
but it's just. Go
ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just a tool. And I don't think that I see the robots. Trump was just in China, and all the networks ran a piece about the robots they're making over there, very advanced. I don't think they're going to take over the world and kill us. Number one, why would they?
Right. Well, yeah.
But also, they run on electricity. Just unplug them.
That's what I was going to say. Take the batteries out.
Yeah, right. Well, I think AI is a wonderful tool, and I want you to know that if I'm having this argument with somebody where they're criticizing it, I would play them your album and explain to them that this was made with a combination of live. The songwriter was live, the producer was live, the vocals were live, the melody was not, although it was worked by the producer-songwriter. And it's a perfect example. But of course, the album, as far as I'm concerned, is a masterpiece. And let me say, the single's called Day by Day. It's available on all platforms, but particularly on YouTube. Type in Day by Day. JT Pepper. You're not using Jack, you're using JT, right?
Right. There's another Jack Pepper out there, so I use JT Pepper.
Another Jack Pepper.
Yeah, JT Pepper. And,
we got to take him to South Georgia, feed him to the alligators. We can't have another.
Can't have two of us, huh?
Yeah, can't. Believe me, I've known you for 50 years. There cannot be another Jack Pepper. All right, listen. Thank you for coming on. I adore the album. I just can't tell you how great the album is. We're going to release singles like the Beatles did. Every 4 months or so, a new single will come out. There are about 6 singles on the album, and we'll have the album out too, right? What's it called? Have you decided a title yet for the album?
Jazzy.
Jazzy. Ooh, good name. Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Swingy.
It's different from most of the stuff that you hear on the radio today. And I have a feeling that this type of music is going to get a second life.
I think you might be right. Of course, I was involved in it 25 years ago with the swing revival, it was called. Neo-swing music, 97, the Big Bad Voodoo Daddies and all that stuff. And I built a radio station, swingtop40radio.com. It's still there. Let me say it again, swingtop40radio.com. Go there and you can hear all the neo-swing from 97 to about 2002.
My goal is to put out mainstream smooth jazz. And as you heard, like with Day by Day or Red Wing.
How did you come up with that? Because I know you as a hard rocker.
Yeah, but you know, my inner self, I like to go home, put on a little Miles Davis, sit there with a glass of wine.
Wow.
A cigar.
I never knew that about you. I knew disco because you were the top. I think you were the top male disco dancer in Atlanta during the day. And you're a great disco DJ, and I don't say that about too many people.
Thank you, Alex.
So it's you. I knew about disco. I knew you played guitar with Tower of Power years ago. So I knew about that. I knew you were like a rock guy over at Harlow's. But I never thought if you was a swing or jazz guy. I was just very surprised. The album is a masterpiece.
Thank you.
It is. It's just smooth. It's swing. It's melodic. And it's just filled with great music. And I don't know that it would have been a lot harder to do that with live people. You could have done it. But
there's not that many players who understand the nuances.
Right.
That type of music.
Or any type of music.
Well, what do you mean by that?
I mean, even if you were putting together an album like Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah. Well, innovation separates men from the boys.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have the idea to talk to AI, then nothing is going to happen. It's just the same as any other thing. It's just a tool.
It's a tool. And you know what? In 10 years, no one wants to be the first one on the dance floor. So I'm happy to say I'm probably one of the first ones on the dance floor, combining the two different recording techniques.
I agree. And the result, you just play Day by Day for somebody, or Kiss Me, I'm in Love, if you like slow music. The result is stunning. And I played it, Bruce Blackman is a guest on this show. I played it for Bruce. He's been a recording star for 50 years, and it blew him away. Wow, 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 in big caps. And everybody I play it for. I mean, the result of this marriage of AI and what you have done for years is absolutely stunning. Jack Pepper, thank you for coming on the show, my friend. I'll help you out with the album as much as I can, and good luck with it.
Thank you very much, Alan. It was a pleasure to be on your show.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Jive Daddy.
This is the second single from JT Pepper and Hidden Figures. I think this one belongs in a movie. And as a matter of fact, I played it for a friend of mine who's working on a movie, and he wants it to be in his movie. This is just a great record. JT Pepper and Hidden Figures. This is Kiss Me, I Love You.
the stars tonight. Whispers in the moonlight. Every moment feels so right. Hold me close, don't let go tonight. Kiss me, I love you. Let it be our song in your arms. Forever where I belong. Every heartbeat, a promise shining through. Kiss me, I love you. It's always been you. Every glance a silent tale. In your eyes I will not fail. Through the storms we will prevail. With each kiss, love's sweet detail. Kiss me, I love you. Let it be our song in your arms. Forever where I belong. Every heartbeat, a promise shining through. Kiss me, I love you. It's always been you. Time may fade, but we remain. Through the joy and through the pain. Every moment bright and new. Kiss me, I love you. The sky is so blue. Kiss me, I love you. Let it be our song in your arms. Forever where I belong. Every heartbeat, a promise shining through. Kiss me, I love you. It's always been you.
Jive Daddy.
Okay, that's it for this episode. As we close it out, let me speak to you a little bit about the third party's GoFundMe. I can't take campaign contributions for a third party because a third party doesn't exist. But I can take contributions on my GoFundMe to help promote the idea, to help promote the book. That's perfectly legal for an author to be taking contributions to promote a book or an idea. It's perfectly legal. So go to GoFundMe, type in The Third Party. Simple as that. And we'd appreciate it if you drop a few bucks on us. I got to hire me an intern here if I want to do this more than once a month. I'd like to do it weekly, but I'm going to need some help in order to be able to do that. So we need some money, baby. So drop a dime on me. GoFundMe, The Third Party. We appreciate that. And that's it for this show. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. And we are done.
You sure are.
Well, it's time to run again, go again. Gotta hit the road again, I'll tell you. We had fun. So now Now we part.